G'day, I'm Chris. Welcome to the shed. This is Flat Tank Journey, and I'm messing around with a Round Tank BSA 1925 and a Wedge Tank 1927. They're both little 250s, of course. And for those of you who join me every week, you already know all that. Listen, it's been really cool, and I've been having a great time. I've been working really hard this week. So the video you're about to watch is shot over, I don't know, a week or 10 days as I bounce backwards and forwards between the two workshops. I am working on the oil lines for both bikes at once. Now, I've had success, really. It's been good. I've just been hunting through and getting a little bag of fittings to take back to Colac to finish off the Wedge tank, and you'll see that in a future episode. But the rest of it, it's all gone really well. Hey, don't forget, I've got a web store, and I'll put the link to the web store in the video down below. Go in and check out my t-shirts. I've got a couple of t-shirts for sale, stubby holder and a window sticker. You don't have to buy anything, but it'd be cool if you clicked the page and had a look. Enjoy the video, eh? Cheers. G'day. I've been annealing copper pipe. So I bought 3 1 metre lengths of 8mm or 5/16 nominally copper tubing. Bought it off eBay in the end. Now I've heated it up. Must have missed the end. The end's a bit stiff. And I've quenched it in water. And that'll just soften it so that it's easier for me to work with. I need to start making oil lines and the like for the Round Tank and the Wedge Tank. So I'm going to straighten this out a bit and not going to get too fussed. And then I'll get some cut to length. Let me straighten a couple of these out and we'll get back to you. Move my water because I realised the camera shooting into the window is not super. I was just cleaning up this piece of pipe, tube, I don't know. When I was in the same place as the Round Tank, I used a piece of copper wire to track out where I thought the pipe would go. Because the copper wire is super easy to control and super easy to manipulate. That's going to let me cut these to length. Now, I do know that you can buy little copper cutters for cutting tubing, and I've got 2 of them. Where are they? That's a really good question. So, I've just cut that with the angle grinder. It's not perfect. And I want to make sure all the crud is out of it. But for me, for this purpose, it's going to be just fine. I'm knocking the burrs off with a scriber and giving the pipe a good blowout. I'm going to clean up the end of this. I've already done this one. I'm going to do this one again and the other one, and then we'll get to silver soldering. They cleaned up really well. I've got a bit of a mess here, which is pretty normal for me. And I've got some Baker's soldering fluid that I've been using to clean the copper and the brass. Now it's kind of ironic that you buy new tubing and I've got new brass fittings and they all need cleaned, which is really strange to me. But allegedly, as in most things, cleanliness is next to, well, godliness. And silver soldering is a fine art and is an enormous skill of which I'm not super at, but I try my hardest. I do know that I'm not super at it, and I do know that being patient enough to get everything really clean is my greatest failing with it. So let me get some cloths and wipe up a little bit while that stuff sits in the soldering fluid. Now, my understanding is, or my experience is, that the longer I leave it in the soldering fluid, the better off I am. Now, the short piece of pipe only needs to be that long, so I'm only going to have, I don't know, 10 centimetres left over. These other pieces that I pre-annealed, I'm going to pull those apart. Now, weirdly, well, not weirdly, I suppose it's accurately, you can tell where you haven't annealed the pipe properly because it's still quite firm. And it's the ends that I haven't quite heated enough to get it to unroll easily. I just use the vise and gently create an angle that works, and I move the pipe through, trying to make it straight-ish. I'm not obsessive about it. I've learnt the hard way that silver soldering isn't my thing, and I need to just get over myself a bit. Anyway, I'll straighten this pipe out a bit and it'll be good for the next tube, because I've got about 4 to do. And that little bit on the end is the bit that's not annealed properly. Bugger. But leverage is our friend, and we can get it in good nick. There we go. In a perfect world, again, I'd have a bit of quadruple zero steel wool here, and I'd clean and clean and clean and clean the ends. But for some reason, I just can't lay my hands on it. One of those days, I think. Nonetheless, there's a piece. I'll bring you back when I think all that has sat in there for long enough. Then we'll get the blowtorch and the solder, and we'll hope that everything goes smoothly. Now, don't judge me on my use of oxyacetylene, will you? I'm not super at it, and I find the level of heat you get to be a bit scary, because you get a lot of heat really fast. And this is only copper and brass. Now, when this works, it works almost instantly. I'm trying to heat the copper, trying to heat the brass, and when the silver solder's gonna run, it runs just like that. If you heat the copper, it'll run in. And it has, and I think it's all the way around. I'm prone to using too much, and it's kind of like that. I've got a little daggy bit, but I'm going to call that a win. So when I've done these, I'll get you down the bench and I'll show you the daggy bits, and I'm going to claim it's okay. And others can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm okay. I'm trying to give the copper pipe a bit of heat So it'll run in, the brass fitting a bit of heat. I'm not close at all. As soon as you touch the solder onto the copper, you can see the solder melt, and it runs all the way around the tubing. And really, that's it. And it's sucking up, pardon me, let me pack this up. My understanding of this is that where the soldering fluid has cleaned the pipe or fluxed the pipe, you'll get the fluid will run to. The solder will run to, sorry. And so sometimes with this method, I'm prone to getting a blob of solder where I don't want it. And it'll always be in a difficult place, but I just gently take at it with a file. I have tried heating it again, and I generally knock the solder out and the fitting falls off. I'm going to show you these before I wire brush them and before I file them and tidy them up too much. Come and have a look, eh? Here they are. Again, don't judge me. Got a big blob there. But I get solder run into that fitting all the way around. This one as well. Whoops. All the way around. Now they need a good clean up. And I'm not adverse to doing that. Now they both need a little bit of solder taken off them, I think, because when I try the fitting, oh no, that's not too bad. The fitting goes over that one easily. Now, of course, I didn't need to put this fitting on, this screw fitting on, because I've got nothing on the other end of the pipe. You've got to be careful when you do the other end of the pipe that you have both of the screw pieces on the pipe and facing the right direction. Why? Because once you've soldered the ends on, you can't get the nuts on. Ask me how I know. Well, I know from getting it wrong. Then you've got to sweat the fittings off again and start over. And when you dislike silver soldering like I do, it annoys you. But I've done a reasonable job this time. I have found that letting the fitting soak in the soldering fluid, and it's called Baker's soldering fluid. Yeah, Baker's. B-A-K-E-R-S, soldering fluid, and soldering for soldering and tinning most metals. It's got zinc chloride and ammonium chloride in it. Anyway, that's what it was called when I was a kid at school, when I was doing plumbing in the plumbing workshop. So it's been a thing for a long time, because that's 45 years ago. Let's just get some fittings for those and worry about them when I get back to the round tank. You'd think you wouldn't forget a job you hated doing, but you do. The fitting on the oil sight feed bowl, or the tap that actually goes to it, is flanged, or requires the pipe to be flanged. Now somewhere I've got a flanging tool, but do you think I can find it? And I may have to buy another one, because that's not going to work. I'll take it back. I've softened that pipe, and I'm rolling a flange in it with a tapered punch. I've obviously got the pipe soft enough that it'll work. Who knew? Who knew? As I say, a long time ago when I did my 27-500, I bought a pipe flanging kit. This appears to be going to do the job. Let me test this on the bike and we'll see how it looks. I'm just going to cool that pipe down. I've got a bucket of water. That's really handy for your hands. And this is where, if you haven't put that nut on, you're in deep trouble. And that's the sort of thing that I do. Maybe. This is where a little bit of encouragement is required to get everything to fit the way you want it to. I'm guessing I've got all that a hair long, but I don't think it's really going to matter. I should still be able to get a good seat around the copper pipe, and I should be able to get the fitting into the tap. So the tap does up easily enough. I don't like how close the fitting is to the barrel and the header pipe, but it's not too bad. There we go. That's not bad. Come and have a look. This is what we're looking at. So I'm a little bit crooked here, and I'm a little bit close there. And I'm hoping that, and it's a cow to tighten up in there. It's an absolute cow. I'm going to take it off and give it a clean first, because I've got marker pen on it, and then we'll see. I don't want to get it all tightened up and then find that I need to clean it. Let's hope you can see. So I tightened up the nut down here with, it says 5/16 Whitworth 3/8 BS. But you know, sometimes these can be really confusing. Weirdly, and I find it really strange, these top fittings that are 1/4 inch BSP do up with a 16mm spanner. So, you know, not correct, but doesn't matter. Now, I don't like how close that is to the barrel, or it's actually touching, so I've just levered that away. Now, I'm hoping that hasn't broken any connections or damaged anything, but I think it probably hasn't. Cool. Now, the next fitting is down here. And my understanding is that it's a dripper or an overflow of some description. Now, what sort, I don't know. In the past, I ran it round to the primary chain and just used it as a dripper. And then actually, in the end, I blocked it up looking for more oil to go into the cases. Now, someone will tell me I'm wrong or whatever, but that's what I'm going to do this time too. I'm going to take this fitting and flange the pipe and run it round to the primary chain. Now, just for now, I can't show you the carburetor because I'm not sure what order you're going to see these things in just yet. So I'm ahead of the game making these. Let me find a bit of pipe and we'll get on and we'll do all this again. Now, whether I'm right or wrong, that's where I put the oil pipe. It's coming out of the body of the timing chain case. And that's where the oil pump sight feed bowl screws into, and the tap that controls the flow from the oil tank. And there's another pipe that runs round from the oil sight feed bowl into the engine. Then this pipe crosses over and comes out the other side. I'll show you what I've done with it. Bit awkward around here. So I've just fed it down into the chain case, and it will drip oil, in theory, onto the primary chain. At least I hope. If it doesn't, I'll do what I did with the last one. I'll block it up. G'day. I'm back at my round tank shed, and I'm just being a little bit, I don't know, sketchy maybe? Not dangerous, just trying to make something work that maybe shouldn't work. Anyway, wish me luck. I'm going to silver solder this pipe together, I hope. And hear a bit of a crackling noise, and that is the flux, or the baker's soldering fluid. I've got the nuts on. Yeah, I've got them on the right way. Always have a bit of a panic about that. When the solder hits, when the tube's the right temperature, touch the solder on it and it'll melt. Not the other way around. It's my understanding of it, that you heat the tube up to melt the solder, not the other way around. Right. That doesn't look awful. It just looks a little bit awful. Let me pack up, and then I'll explain to you what I've been doing. And I have worked without you, so I've been naughty. I've had a bit of YouTube going in the background. I've been trying to work. So somebody very kindly gave me a diagram of the oiling system for the round tank, and that's been super. So the pump, the bowl side, goes to the engine. The front, or the adjustable side, comes down through and to the outside. So I don't know whether that's the pump bit or the feed bit. And then the tank feeds directly into the top. Now, all of these have different fittings. They're a pain in the... Yeah, they're a pain. Of course, the fuel tap, or the oil tap, is modern. So each quarter BSP. Then on the back of the engine here is original... Well, it's actually not original. It's a repop oil feed nut, and it screws on. The top here was just quarter BSP, and so was that one. So I just found older ones to make it look about right. This one, I actually don't know. This little one at the front was weird, and out of a bag full, and I mean a bag full, I've got a bag full of fittings. I only had one nut that would fit on there. And so it became a real challenge to get it to fit. And I only had one tail as well that would fit in. But the tail was the wrong size for the pipe. Yeah. So this pipe, the big piece, is 5.5 millimetres inside. Sorry, just going to get a texture mark off while I see it. 5.5 mil inside. And this piece, I actually needed to drill the tail out, put in a 1/4 inch piece of pipe with 4.4 mil inside, and then the 1/4 inch pipe once I just gave it a little file, slid straight into the 8mm pipe, and I silver soldered it all together. So there's a sleeve in there, if you like. Now, it'll potentially slow down the flow of oil. That worries me a little bit. But the only thing that makes me feel okay is that the tail that went in there had to be small, because that's the only one that fits. And the nut is small, so you can't get 8mm pipe to go over a tail that would have gone through the nut. Oh, that's a bit confusing, isn't it? Anyway, this is the pattern I've chosen, and it feeds through. And I don't really know how Round Tank Mr. BSA did it, but this is how I've chosen to do it. And maybe I'm right, and maybe I'm not. I don't really know. And that's its first fit. I've had this on and off the bike 54 times. And I'm probably not exaggerating. Bear with me while I just tighten things up, because until the nut, till the nipply piece, the tail I think it's called, I think they're called nuts and tails. Until the nut and the tail are tight, you can't really judge your lines of the pipes. So let me tighten up this bottom one. It's smaller, it's a weird size too. That's probably enough. The back one is a different size again. So now what I need to do is I need to wrestle these pipes into shape. Come and have a look at them, and I'll explain what I'm trying to do with not a huge amount of success. I think when they dull off, I'm never going to notice. Have a look. What I'm trying to get is straight lines, and then a straight line. Now that one's pretty good, and they do cross over. I don't like the back one where it is with the header pipe, but it is what it is. So I need to work on that one a little bit to straighten it up. But when you straighten that one up, you mess this one up. This one's tolerable. But when you've got 3 tubes going in all different directions, and they're copper, you're trying to bend them by hand, and you're making it up as you go along, well, you end up with what you end up with. I don't know whether I've shown this one going on or not, but I've put a bit of hose onto that one, and it seems to work really well. So overall, a good outcome. There you go. That was this week's video. It's a bit jumpy and haphazard as I worked between 2 workshops, but working with the copper was really good. Cleanliness, 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 cleanliness. The Baker's soldering fluid ended up being really, really good, and I'm really pleased with what I've done. I've been soaking the part in the Baker's soldering fluid and the fitting for maybe anything up to 5 minutes. I try and do something else while it soaks. Since I've been doing that, I've had almost 100% success of silver soldering. Silver soldering is easy enough when you get the temperature and the cleanliness right. And I always put the solder on the material to melt, not melted with the torch. Well, I try to do that anyway. Look, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Don't forget the web store if you want to click the link in the description. And for those of you who continue to subscribe, gee, I'm grateful. This channel is sponsored by me. And subscriptions are a sign that maybe I'm doing something right. Love it. Cheers. Have a good weekend.